Yeah, the distractions that we face throughout the day are profound, right? We have social media, we have our phones, YouTube, X, all these things are always flashing in front of us. And our mind can just kind of be that monkey mind, right? Where it's going from one thing to the next. Even if you're just trying to focus on something like our conversation directly right here, it's so easy for our mind to start wandering and going to someplace else. So when you talk about that story in particular, it really is unique and interesting appreciation of you need to take those subtle, consistent strokes to be able to build that up in your mind. I mean, I always think of meditation, Jeff, as being a workout for your mind, right? So if you can train and build the muscle in your mind to acknowledge when you are thinking about something or your mind is starting to wander, acknowledge that and then bring yourself back to you and I talking right now. And then when it goes this way, bring it back to what we're talking about right now. So from that perspective, that seems kind of like the essence of what meditation is based on what you're talking about with those components, correct?
Yeah, I definitely think that's one of the pillars in the practice. There's yeah, with any meditation practice, I have what we call, excuse me, I have what we call the five regulations. And these are five underlying principles that work in any kind of meditation, whether you're doing a sitting practice, a standing meditation, whether you're doing something like Tai Chi or Qigong or yoga. It doesn't matter. These are the core fundamental principles that everybody needs to cultivate. And they are regulating the body, regulating the breath, regulating the mind, regulating the energy, and regulating the spirit. And briefly, I'll kind of talk about what I mean when I say these things. So, regulating the body, excuse me, regulating the body is where we usually begin. It's the easiest thing to see change with our practice. And so, what I mean by this is think about a time maybe when you're sitting down in front of your computer and your shoulders are rounded forward, you've been there for 3 or 4 hours, you're feeling lethargic, maybe your neck's getting sore. And think about another time when the most important person in your world walks in the room and your body perks up and you feel like you're on top of the world. Well, these two different energetic states we're in 100% control of all day, every day. And so, this one idea of learning how to regulate our skeletal alignment and our muscular tension in the body can play a huge role in how we monitor our physical, mental, and emotional well being. On a little bit of a deeper level with regulating the body, it involves maintaining some kind of muscular development, maintaining some kind of flexibility, eating a healthy diet so we keep our energy up, getting an appropriate amount of sleep. Now, when we move into the breath regulation, this is a very deep topic, and oftentimes Qigong is referred to as the science of the breath because there's literally hundreds of different breathing strategies that we can use with our practice. Now, because of this, we kind of broadly categorize these practices into yin methods and yang methods. And yin methods are often deeper, more holistic style of meditations. And an example of a yin breath that we do all day, every day, is if you ever listen to somebody sleep, their natural breathing pattern is a longer inhale and a shorter exhale. And this is the body's natural way of bringing your conscious mind into your subconscious mind, which is where we are when we're sleeping and dreaming. And so if you want to emulate this inward style of energetic expression in your meditations, we can do longer inhales, soft retentions at the end of the inhale, and shorter exhales to help bring that energy inward. And this is great for stress reduction, dealing with anxiety, dealing with panic attacks. It's great for boosting your creativity. There's lots of reasons why we would focus on this yin side of the breath. Then we have the yang side of the breath, and this is more aggressive. And an example of this would be if you ever had to push your car or you pick up something heavy, your natural instinct is to exhale and put tension in the breath, make it audible. And this helps expand that energy and bring it outwards. Now, when we start understanding how to use the breath strategically, we can use it to control our physical, mental, and emotional well-being throughout the day. The third regulation is regulating the mind. Regulating the mind is a very important part of meditation. And oftentimes I'll hear people say, I tried meditation, but it just didn't work for me. I couldn't quiet my mind. Somewhere along the way, people got this misguided idea that in order to be successful with meditation, you have to reach this state of nirvana where nothing bothers you, and it couldn't be further from the truth. So the idea behind meditation is that whether you're doing a sitting practice or a standing meditation or a movement practice, if you're sitting there for 20 minutes and you get distracted 50 times, you recognize the imbalance, you use your breath, your posture, your movement to help bring you back to center. You just got 50 repetitions of being off center and coming back to balance. And if you do that every day, every month, every year, you start to develop this power and this ability that under any stressful environment, or anytime somebody says something to throw you off your game, you're able to come back to that centered position and approach it with less emotions. And so it's very valuable in anything we do in life, just this one idea. There's this story that I enjoy about these two old monks, and they're walking down this dirt road after a huge rainstorm. They come up to this big mud puddle, and on the other side of the puddle is this beautiful little girl, and she's standing there in a white dress, but she's crying. And the older monk, he hollers across the puddle and says, "Is everything okay? Can we help you?" And she says, "I need to be somewhere, but if I walk across this puddle, I'm going to get my dress all dirty." So he rolls up his pant legs, he walks across the puddle, picks her up, puts her on his back, takes her to the other side and sets her down, and she's off on her way. Well, him and the younger monk are walking a couple miles down the road, and finally the younger monk is just furious, and he says, "You know we're not supposed to touch girls, but you did back there at the puddle." And he says, "I left that girl back at the puddle. Why are you still carrying her?" And how many times in life do we got to get 2 miles down the muddy road before we realize we need to let that stuff go? And so regulating the mind is a very important part of this practice. The fourth regulation is regulating the energy, and this is an extremely deep topic and something that we could chat about for hours. However, the basic idea of it is once we've reached a competent level in regulating the body, the breath, and the mind, we now have the tools to regulate the energy in the body and run it through circulations or lead it inward or extend it outward. And we'll use this to get different outcomes in our meditation practice. And then finally, the fifth regulation is regulating the spirit. And this is a very profound idea and something that people will spend their entire life's journey with their meditation practice focusing on this element of the training. But as you can see, by having these underlying principles in your practice, the meditative arts can affect everything we do in life.